step into a different zone. So, bear with us. We appreciate your patience. Um, so episode 31, I want to welcome everybody to Extravaganza, something incredible that's about to take place. World renowned, the Black Psychologist Podcast, episode 31. I am one half of your humble and gracious host and clinician here for your listening pleasures, Dr. Kyle Osborne. He is I, and I am him. And I'm always here with my partner, my ace. He's a pretty good dude. He's got the rollie on his arm while he's pouring Sean Don,
Oh,
and he's got all the answers because he's got it going on. Dr. Jason Coleman, how are you, good brother?
what's going on, bro? How are you? Happy
I'm good.
Halloween, man.
Happy Halloween to you also, man. It's a good day. It's a really good
That's right.
day, and we got some good people rolling with us, man. We got we
That's right.
got the it's a special event always when this person shows up. You know, we
Even
got
better, Dad.
the
Even
one
better,
and
Dad.
only. When people out here playing, so she's got to make them understand. If it ain't about positivity, then you ain't going on her gram. The queen of
Fellow.
positivity herself, one of the greatest minds out of the Carolinas, Dr. Ashley Poole. How are you, Dr.
Woo!
Poole? What
Thank you
is
for
going
that
on?
introduction, Dr. Osborne. I always appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to be here. This is a good Sunday. So I've been doing good, I'm always excited whenever I get to chop it up with you guys because I know it's gonna be interesting. I know I'm gonna laugh and it's gonna be a good time. So thank you for having me again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Always, always.
No, we appreciate you making time.
Whenever I get to chop it up with you guys because I know it's gonna be interesting. I know I'm gonna laugh and it's gonna be a good time. So thank you for having me again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so like I said, we appreciate you being here, and for those watching, feel free to throw some comments in there. We appreciate everybody, being a part of this. Like I said, episode 31. We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the subscribers. So please continue, add, share, comment. So this is we love it. We appreciate it. Jay, anything should add before we get rolling?
Nothing really. Just, of course, we want to thank Ashley for joining us. Whenever we do that, that always makes everything better. It brings it up a notch. And we just want to thank everybody that takes the time to listen and watch every week. And that's about it. You
Yeah.
know.
Actually, anything for you, anything you want to promote, please get it out there so the people know where to find you and where you are handling your business.
Absolutely. So I've been kind of pausing with posting. So you all won't see any updates most recently, but that's because I'm cooking up something. I'm definitely wanting to, introduce people to pop culture, pool of positivity. So I've been taking a break to kind of like think about what it is I want to do. I just recently transitioned to a new career position. I'm done with postdoc and I am a full-time faculty at a medical school in the
Clap it up.
psychology
Clap it up.
department, supporting individuals on their journey to becoming a psychologist. So, with that, I really do want to infuse, my love for like social media, mental health, and just positive vibes and like the clinical side of that versus the cliche side because it is a lot deeper. So, if anyone wants to follow me, Pool of Positivity on Instagram, and just type in Dr. Ashley Poole LPC on Facebook, and you can follow my professional page there. So, thank you for the, you know, opening for that.
All
Definitely love
day.
to promote stuff.
That's right. All right, so let's get into it. Dave Chappelle, his new stand-up special, The Closer. So, The Closer was recently released on Netflix earlier this month. And has been criticized as transphobic by some of the LGBTQ plus organizations and community members, by some of their advocates, by different artists, and even some of Netflix's own employees. So for those haven't had the opportunity to watch, the special includes several minutes of jokes about trans people. He talks about some of the backlash that he received after making jokes about like Caitlyn Jenner and other trans people in previous specials. He criticizes cancel culture. He criticizes other different issues as far as cancel culture around Arthur J.K. Rowling, who's famous for writing the Harry Potter series. He also references his friendship with Daphne Dorman. She's a trans woman and also a fellow comedian who opened up for him at one of his San Francisco shows in the past. So unfortunately, also give some more backstory. His friend Daphne Dorman passed away due to suicide in 2019. In the special, he terms himself as a TERF, which is TERF, which is an acronym referring it for trans exclusionary radical feminists. So throughout all this controversy, Netflix has chosen to support Dave through everything. They even released an official statement defending Chappelle, saying, "We don't allow titles on Netflix that are designed to incite or hate violence, and we don't believe the closer crosses that line. Some people find the art of stand-up to be mean-spirited, but our members enjoy it." And it's important. It's an important part of our content offering. So they have continued to support Chappelle through everything, even through there were some issues of employees walking out or being terminated and quitting or something, rather all the different things, and that's been resolved. And they've still again continued to support it. Chappelle has come out and said that he's tried to clear things up, and he even said he's open to sitting down with the LGBTQ community about issues that they've expressed. So Ashley, what's your take on these past few weeks of this conspiracy and the series itself, and what's your take?
Yeah, so I've watched most of Dave Chappelle's work, and I've always considered him entertaining and funny, and this was no different. But where I draw the line is I do understand how other people cannot think something is funny. But then, with Dave Chappelle, I kind of just look at intent. I look at, historically how things have been. I look at other details. So, like his friend that you mentioned, his trans friend that opened for him. Um, Dave reached out to her family, and her family supports him. I'm like 90% sure that it said it in that article that the family kind of like stood by Dave Chappelle as well. So like it's a lot of variables that kind of play into that. But I do think that it's interesting how progressive and how far we've come that he's still up there, because didn't Nick Cannon do something like that wasn't like appropriate, and he kind of like lost his show? And so like it's when you start to defend certain groups that have been marginalized, and it comes with a lot of a lot of accountability.
Right.
A lot of accountability, let me say that. That's why I want to be mindful to say that I did watch it. I did think it was entertaining. I laughed, but I can understand how some people could view things as insensitive. But one comment that really stood out to me when I was talking to other people about it, because I had posted on my page, was how people were saying it wasn't until he started to talk about other groups that now is this cancel culture and want to ban. But he's always done these, and it was mostly just about like Black people, like from his shows where like Black people who want to be white. The guy, wasn't it one was the member of the Ku Klux Klan in one of his the Chappelle show. So when he was doing those things, it was like humor was found, but different groups respond differently when they look at that. Okay, what's salient, what stands out the most with this is in some way I identify. So it is what it is. What you think? Well, what was y'all personal thoughts on the show and Netflix supporting them?
Jay, you want to go, or you want me to go?
I'll let you chime in, and then I'll chime in.
I believe that his intentions are being misconstrued, and I feel like the comedy aspect is getting to people who lack the proper context for it. like it's misunderstood. And that's what I think is contributing to the whole controversy, that it's misunderstood. While some people think that he's antagonizing the LGBTQ community, at least what I got out of it and what I believe he was doing was that he was just critiquing some of the problems that he sees within that community. So, like within the series, he points out, or what he believes is that the LGBTQ community has had like an easier path um, as far as getting their rights as compared to African Americans, right? He says that the movement includes white people, so they've been looked on upon like more favorably. Like he's not attacking them, he's just pointing out some different critiques. Now, he doesn't say, it's not that he's saying that, well, the LGBTQ, that community, like they don't have struggles like in their daily lives and they don't have struggles in their community. But what he does is that he uses a lot of anecdotes and he uses a lot of his experiences to show like how he thinks that their struggles aren't equal to those of African Americans. So it's taking a look at like, well, how some of the voices in that community are treated with more credibility and more weight than would be other minority groups. And I feel like that's where a lot of the misunderstanding comes from. Like I enjoyed the comedy of it also. I'm not going to say her neck like I'm not a Dave Chappelle fan, because I am. I've watched the series, I watched the Chappelle show, all these other different things. And yeah, there might have been a couple things where even with some of the jokes that he made about Jewish people, kind of made me like, he's really told the line there. But I think as far as like with when he's just pointing, he's critiquing that community, like the LGBTQ community. Like he's, even though he's been criticized for making like homophobic and transphobic comments in the past, he's speaking from lived experiences. Like he made what was one thing that he talked about that stood out during his special? One of his experience. Oh yeah. So he mentioned during the special that he and his wife were out one time, like at a restaurant, and there was he said, he talks about there was like a white person that was like filming him and his wife, and he asked the person to stop, and the person wouldn't, like they weren't being respectful of like his privacy. And so like he thought he would be able to get the person to stop by using like strong language, and then he realized that the person was gay, and then the person called the police on him in response to the confrontation. So he's like, well, the problem in this situation is that he says gay people are minorities until they need to be white again, right? Because he's like, well, if a black gay person would have never done that, because he knows if the black gay person calls the police, he's like, they wouldn't have called the police, because he knows what's going to happen when the police come. They're not going to care, who started what ruckus. They're just going to see two black individuals and the situation is going to go left, right? So he's saying like that's where the issue comes in, where he's just like, well, they're not being aware of, say, other minority group struggles and that awareness. So I just feel like that message and things that he was trying to get across, and similar to what you said, Ashley, like you said, it was okay if he's making jokes at other different populations, other different minority groups like blacks and other, but as soon as he makes some jokes about that community, then they kind of swoop in and do other things. So Jay, how about you, bro?
I mean, admittedly, like I told y'all before, I haven't seen it. I am a Dave Chappelle fan, though. I have seen a lot of his other work, so I'm aware of how he works, how his like routines are. But I'm gonna kind of just speak like from the historical perspective, like, comedy is kind of judged differently than a lot of different genres, right? In terms of like historically. And I'm just and all comedians, like a lot of times, kind of piggyback on what you said. A lot of the meanings, like sometimes when they're blatant and sometimes when they're hidden or double meanings, like sometimes they hurt when the person is saying them on stage, right? because a lot of times there are personal feelings behind it, you know, political feelings behind it, whatever the motivation. But, you know, like Dave Chappelle, historically, a lot of comedians have done it. He speaks through his comedy, you know what I'm saying? So again, I didn't hear that specifically, so I can't condone everything he's saying. And I'm not saying that it doesn't mean that things that he's saying on the stage can't be hurtful to people. You know what I mean? But I can only draw the comparison and say that over the years, there have been messages that whether we agree with them or disagree, like them or not, he's been sending to us, right, as African Americans, that we haven't necessarily either been comfortable hearing from the stage at times, right? So I'm only saying that in terms of the style, right? So this is not something that we should not expect from him, right? He pushes the limits, and historically, he's always done that. And in different aspects, like we've called him a genius, right? So again, when he was doing the Chappelle show and he was up there, you know, and he was mocking Roots and he was hanging up there, and a lot of Black people were outraged, you know, different generations, you know, as much as some people were laughing,
Yeah.
you know, he was making a bigger point. The same reason why he walked away from all the money, he was making a bigger point. So whether we agree with him or disagree with him, the point he was making is what you was talking about, Kyle, right? Is that the amount of attention, you know, that is paid to different struggles, you know, in this country, right? And again, what we don't want to get in this to the habit of doing is like comparing atrocities and this and that, right? And doing that.
Right.
But the point that he's trying to point out or shed some light on is, you know, like what gets the traction, right? And where the ultimate sacrifice has came from or initiated. So, I mean, I think, you know, again, it generated a lot more conversation, and I think that was his ultimate goal, you know? So I think he accomplished his goal, whether people like it or not.
Yeah, they saying he the GOAT.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. I mean, I truly believe that during this special, he's trying to convey the message from earlier, because a lot of it was also in response to the earlier backlash that he got from earlier specials. And I really believe that he was trying to convey the message that he doesn't hate women, he doesn't hate queer individuals or other minorities that he's made jokes about, because he says it, like he says in the special that he's not transphobic, and he doesn't, you know, he even pointed out the about the lack of rights, and like how Congress and how all these other different states have like made like these like abhorrent type of like bills. Like he points out the North Carolina that what was it, that transgender bathroom bill. He points out about that being horrible. I mean, he said it. He's like, I'm done making jokes about, you know, that community until he's sure that they're laughing with him, and that he's not punching down on them. Right? He uses that term. He's not trying to punch down on them, and he doesn't want them in turn to punch down on him and his community. I mean, it's just really about awareness. Like, no minority group is beyond criticism, right? Like, even us as a group, as a minority group, like, we have to take a look at some of our behaviors, right? We got to take a look at how our group and how our culture and what part of it do we own or are we responsible for. So, you know, like, and it's definitely, it's possible. It happens that some minority groups aren't open or can be blind to the struggles of other minority groups. Right? We can sometimes be like, oh, well, you know, this isn't happening over there. Like, no, we all have struggles, but we also have to understand that, like, all right, there are different struggles. We all have to be aware of that, because we've talked about in every situation, if you don't have awareness, then, you know, then you're not going to be open to any type of change or open to any type of criticism. So, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good special. He said that he's open to, you know, talking to, you know, members of that community and advocates. So, but so we'll see, you know. But I mean, I thought the special was good. I just think it's a lot of misunderstanding as far as the content.
Because it's a lot of he said, she said versus people that have actually watched it. So, Jay, I'm glad that you acknowledged that you hadn't watched it, you know, because it's okay if you haven't, you can still reflect on it. But I think a lot of people are going off of what a meme or Twitter or somebody said versus like.
You know, I didn't want to cut you off. But I agree with you because like I was reading like quotes, right? And then I was like, should I comment on the quotes? But they're all out of context, you know what I mean? So it's like, and we're talking about jokes. So that's why I said I'm just gonna talk about it, you know, from what I know about Chappelle and then, you know, what people are saying. But you know, that's why I had to say that.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, like, with you're not gonna be able to satisfy everybody. That's another thing with, especially with comedians and with like, you know, any type of group, because you can have people from the same particular group, from whether it be the LGBTQ community or whether it be from the Black community or whether it be from the Hispanic community, and not everybody is gonna agree on what's offensive, right? Like you may have something that most people will find offensive, but you have, like, for instance, in his situation, you have Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner came out and said that he's completely 100% correct in his assessment and everything that he says. Other people, like you mentioned, the comedian's family came out and was supportive of what, you know, he was of the special, and other different notable individuals of that community have come out. And then you also have Glad then coming out and condemning it, right? So there's gonna be, you're not gonna get 100% of like, well, everyone feels the same way.
But that's why I brought up what I brought up when it came to all Chappelle's sketches, right? Because you're gonna have some people with certain groups that feel like certain subjects you should never talk about on a public stage, right? You should never talk about in a comedy routine.
Right.
Should never talk about on television. That's gonna go for certain religious groups. You know what I mean? Certain, you know, sexual orientation, race, and then within those groups, you're gonna have different feelings. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's when it comes to comedy, it's always going to be that much more complicated. You know what I mean? No matter how far you push the line, it's always going to be very complicated.
Yeah, I will say I am happy that Netflix is continuing to support him. You know, because they definitely could have folded when, you know what happens when a lot of these communities and backlash starts to happen, people start pulling out. I know he had a movie or documentary that was coming out, that he was going to release at a few different festivals, like at the end of this year and next year. And a lot of those festivals, I think, have canceled or have like pulled his documentary. So now I know he's doing like limited showings about his documentary. And the documentary is about how he did a lot of his how a lot of the comedians came up to like his house to do their specials or do like comedy like during COVID. So he had like the behind the scenes and the cameras rolling with all of that. So I think just certain theaters he's going to be showcasing that, as opposed to since the festival's pulled out. But I'm happy Netflix is supporting him on this, man, because, you know, historically, man, when things like this happen, they start shutting things down. You know, corporations start pulling out, man, the distributions cut off. It's, you know, so we'll see. We will continue to monitor it. All right. I got a question for y'all.
Okay.
All right. Either one of you have you participated in online dating?
I have.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. All right. Just wanna make
we know you haven't.
Nah,
You haven't, Kyle.
So let's move on.
No, I'm scared. No, listen, we can start off with that. I'm scared of getting catfished. That's it. We talked about this a few episodes ago. No, nope.
Scared of getting catfish.
Scared of getting catfish, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Like he never had a dating app on his phone. Nope. Nothing. Never met nobody for no drink. Nothing.
Nope. Not gonna do it. Not through those means. Not gonna do it.
Do you know a lot of men that have got catfish?
I've talked to people and they've said that that what they've what's been advertised isn't always what shows up.
A lot of men say that.
I mean, I'm not gonna say a lot, but I mean, I'm not gonna say a lot. I mean, it might have been like one or two, but that's way too many for me. You know, we're playing. Now you're playing with fire right there. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna take that chance. No way.
Right.
No way.
Right. No, especially when I first moved to Philly, I was like, oh, while I'm on my way to getting this degree, let me see what these
Let's see,
The hot boys looking like in the
see what it's
city.
hitting for
So
out here.
I will say it's levels to apps. So don't just jump on any app. Like, I mean, it's definitely levels to apps. Like, some apps, the population up there, you gonna have to have like a 1,000 word minimum, because hey beautiful, like, yeah, don't, you gotta send 10 more sentences so I can make sure you can write and read and understand punctuation. Let's see what your text looking
You want
like.
to see about that 8th grade level of education, at least, right? Something.
See, Ashley, he would never survive on a dating app because he would think, like, if he got a match or something, he would think that was the only person that was talking to him, that they was talking to. He would think they was dating, you know?
Look here, man. This is what this is. See, Jay's able to speak from a position of privilege, right? Because
Right.
this, first of all, the podcast is like a dating app for him. Because let me tell you, right?
Yeah, knock it off.
Knock
it off. The podcast is not like, first of all,
I've told him, Ashley, look, I've told him,
start lying.
It asked, I said, look, people have been hitting me, right? Like, hey, what's up with Dr. J? Does he have a girlfriend, or is he married? And if he does have a girlfriend, can she fight?
Dr. J is not available.
Listen, I've told him, I said, look, I don't know about his personal affairs. He's just there to give information. Okay, that's all he's there for. All right.
Dr. J is not available. Are you available?
Yeah, that's what I told him. Jay,
you in a relationship?
But look, I've had to listen.
I'm not available.
I've had to filter out some of the comments. Ashley, that's what I've had to do. I've had to filter out comments because they've gotten too raunchy. All right. They're hitting me up. They're like, "Oh, what's up, Doctor?" He's just there for education purposes. That's what he's there for.
Right. Are you available?
No, I'm not available. I'm here for education also. So on to this online dating, right? So we all know that online dating can cause a range of emotions, from everything from anticipation to excitement. All right. Now, while it's great meeting new people and starting relationships or dating apps and sites can also muster feelings of insecurity and rejection. So another article an article that Jay and I did a few episodes back about dating apps, talked about how social anxiety and dating app have found it that that people aren't being swiped on the ideal version of themselves and putting forward that it can feel like a majority, like a letdown when you're not getting the results that that you're anticipating. So recently, an article just came across our desk that shares tips on how to how to keep on top of your mental health while trying to connect online. So that's why I wanted to get the experts, you guys, on this on this dating app thing, and because I don't know anything about that, so I'm gonna delegate and refer to you guys and your experience with this.
It depends on what kind of advice are you asking. Are you asking for, this article is about like managing your mental health online. Mm-hmm. It's not about maximizing your chances of getting a match. Those are two different questions. You know what I mean? So let's start with the article.
All right. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna refer to you guys because we want to see how you guys have been able to protect your mental health. Through that whole process. All right. So the first one that they say is seeking validation. All right. So they said that unfortunately, when you don't hear from a match, you can start to feel like really low, that you're not getting attention from someone else, and might actually be, start to seek validation through the dating app. And it was recommended that, as opposed to, putting so much stock and putting a lot of influence in the dating app, is that, doing your best to present your authentic self and take a step back after yourself to ensure you're giving yourself the attention that you need first before seeking it from others. So what do you think as far as the seeking validation aspect? How can you protect that part of your mental health?
Well, since I know Ashley got plenty of likes and matches, I'll answer this one. So if you don't get any, it could be a pretty down day, or a week or so, but listen, on a real, I think the goal is like, you can't really, social media is the wrong place to be wanting to be validated in that way. So, I mean, of course, we're all appreciative, when people, pay attention or validate us that way, but I just think, like when we were talking about, I think the best way to kind of balance that is to kind of know going in, to it, that there's a large pool out there, and the odds that you're going to actually meet up with somebody is very low, right? So you should really look at this like, more so like a video game that you're most likely never going to win, or one of these carnival games that you're probably never going to win. The thing where that comes down to grab the
claw,
animal?
the claw,
the claw there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should look at it, especially from the male perspective, you should look at it like the claw, and if you happen to grab something, then it's the luckiest day of your life. Now from the female perspective, it's a little different, I suppose, because you're probably sorting through and trying to find quality amongst quantity. So I'll let Ashley speak to that. But from a male perspective, it's low expectations and act like it's the claw.
Yeah, it's rough for the ladies, I will say, because like I said, it depends on the app. So certain apps are known more for like dating, like where like the plan is to get up, go get something to eat, coffee shop, something like that. But then there's an app where it's kind of like, you want me cook for you? Like the first, like what? You know what I'm saying? Like you just plenty of fish. Plenty of fish.
Oh.
Right, plenty of fish.
I that catfish like
that.
Talking about.
Oh man.
Talking about.
But I would say like a coffee meets bagel, or maybe like Tinder, Hinge. Like I haven't been on a dating site in some years, but my friends are up there. So with women, you can get like over 100 messages a day.
Oh,
because
wow.
You have to think that it's like a mile radius. Like I can show you a profile that I have access to, because after I read this, I figured we would talk about it. And it's like, it's nonstop. It's so many men. I mean, and men validate women for anything. If the goal is to have sex, then you have to think they're going to validate. You can get up there with a dirty towel on this message. I can wash that for you.
Oh,
like
I can wash that towel.
Listen, I wish I could see the ladies' comments, because I know if we could do a poll, okay, and this is really how it is. Like you said, women, especially on the dating sites, men it's ridiculous. So it is kind of like looking through to see what it is. So I think that a lot of women are validated and almost maybe inappropriately validated, because when they get ready to look for something real, if they're reflecting on, it's all these fish in the sea, yeah, but they sardines and most of them dead fish. So like, sis, don't make sure you making an accurate statement, or that you're reflecting on things. So yeah, it can get rough for the ladies.
No, that's a fact, because we've talked about my experiences. Like a lot of my experiences just end up being funny stories, but like you mentioned coffee versus bagel, definitely quality people there, what I mean? But for the most part, out here, like it's the Wild West, so listen, like I said, you got to have very low expectations, I mean, but think about it, and I want to know y'all opinion on this. I think people kind of just like to move the goalposts or just have unrealistic expectations, because how realistic is should anybody's expectations be going to a bar on a Friday or a club on a Friday? Think about our whole life, you know what I mean? Whether it be in school, wherever we live, like how many times have you met that person that you end up dating or even going out with more than once there?
Right.
For me, it's usually never, you know what I mean? So
I feel like it's similar even to when you're going to a certain bar, right? So just like Ashley said, there are levels to the dating apps, right? If you go to a certain dating app, you know what you're gonna get. Just like it's similar to a bar. You go to a around the way bar, like you know what you're gonna get, right? If that's what you're looking for. Now, if you want to go downtown, you want to go maybe some more other places upscale, then that's what you're going to get. Not to say that you don't have grimy people at all these other different places, but it also depends on your intentions. So it's like, okay, we're with the validation aspect of it. It's like, okay, well, what exactly what's the goal, right? So I feel like that maybe might be helpful in kind of taking that step back, like the article mentions, and thinking like, all right, what's your goal here? right? Like you said, you're going to get validation depending on the site that you're at because of
Right.
what the individuals are trying to obtain or what their goal is. So you're going to get that validation depending on where you're at. Just like you said, on a Friday night, Saturday night, like it depends on what bar you go to. What are you trying to do? Right. You know,
I
in
can
certain
cook for
bars,
you.
if you're trying to
I
do
just
certain
met you.
activities, yeah, it's more likely if you go to the below bars,
Right.
the bottom
You know I
shelf
can
bars,
cook
that
for
might
you.
happen. Now you're gonna get bottom shelf material, but
Exactly.
And
so
that's what I mean. Some of those dating apps, it's like going to the bar on the corner.
yeah.
Like what or not, or any corner or any club. Like, what do you really expect? Like none of us has really. I can't remember the last time I went to a club or to a bar or something before Corona.
So let me ask you, where are people meeting?
Right now,
Yeah, like where are guys that are like y'all, same demographic makeup, where are they hanging out to meet
well,
women? The
I
single ones.
mean, I've spoken to Kyle about this. I'm not saying I haven't met anybody on dating apps. I'm saying I think it's a multi kind of faceted approach at this point. You know what I mean? And I'm saying I think now, but I think younger people, I think they kind of use that on a regular basis, like whether it be, dating apps, in person, wherever, but right now I think online is kind of flooded just because a lot of places are opening back up now. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of been skewed, especially the last 2 years. But Kyle, what you think?
No, I feel like it's definitely been probably more online. Like I think it's been more definitely by association on the gram, on these other different on social media, just because of everything that's taken place within the past year and a half. Um Prior to that, you're meeting people at work, you're meeting them at the job, right? You're meeting them probably. I feel like if you meet people, if you go to the
Look out,
bar,
he's meeting people at the job. I'm not meeting
look, I'm
anybody
just
at the
saying.
job.
I'm just saying, like, there are more people there
Better
because I
talk
feel
to
like
him.
at the bar, right? This is my thought process, right? At the bar, I feel like you're seeing the same people, right? If you're going there all the time, how are you meeting anybody new? I
Right,
mean, every now and then you'll see some folks, but for the most part, you're seeing the same people.
right.
I mean, when I've gone to like the local joints and in the past, you saw the same people there. Like every now and again, somebody might bring their friend or somebody's having some, but probably I would think at events, right? You would have like if somebody's throwing something, then people are bringing people, right? But other than that, I feel like it's probably more like on the social media thing because if you're, you know, somebody or you're friends with somebody and you see them posted or picked with somebody else, you shoot them a message. Oh, who's this? Blah 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 blah. But I feel like at the bars you see the same people. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. Like dating is a whole discussion, especially, I mean, y'all know the statistics on like successful Black women and dating availability. I mean, and I moved to the city with the intentions of that. So I think it's super important for us to look at, like intentions, like we were, kind of like talking about. But I have a lot of single women, female friends that, I told them they need to move to the city.
So where
Point blank,
where
period.
where your girlfriend's meeting people at?
Social media, homecomings, like if it was somebody from undergrad that, like, oh,
Oh,
I saw so and so.
they're still doing that. You can't do that. You can't,
right.
you
Still
can't be
doing
doing
that
that.
because when you in a sorority, you really not gonna miss no homecomings.
Right,
You
right,
know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? So with
But
that, it might
that's
be like
yeah.
that, dang girl, so and so and them ain't married no more. Because it's flipping. People may have gotten married earlier, may be divorced now. So now
Yeah.
that person is available in the same space, same time. But one of the one of the things that stood out to me in that article that you sent was rejection. Like I think rejection was the one that stood out the most because I think women are used to like being pursued, so that rejection is challenging, and especially coming from like I'm from the South, so like Southern women is like an extra benefit, quote unquote. So you're taught to be like more coy. What do you all think about? I mean, honestly, because I know I got some homies that I'm close with, and they show me how women can be forward, and some men say they like that, but how forward is there such thing as too forward with that for y'all?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, I think
Uh,
so. Here's the thing, right? I think especially with rejection, I don't know, and maybe I'm being blinded because again, I'm not on the dating app, so I don't know the whole process and things. But I feel like with men, just overall, are more used to and comfortable with rejection because we get rejected all the time. Because historically, it's been something that maybe we're approaching people, right? We're, like you said, we're trying to get the other person's attention, and so a lot of times you're gonna get, unless you're pretty Rico Suave, like you're gonna get rejected more times than you're gonna get hits, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's just the way it works. Like you're gonna try to get people's attention, and you're gonna get more no's than yeses. Like like you said, when you hit, like Jay said mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like with the rejection aspect of it, I'm not sure how it may hit differently, or the experience for women might be a little different, especially like if you add the validation component, right? Like if you're coming in to the app and it's serving that purpose of getting some type of validation because you maybe haven't been getting the results through other measures, then I think the
Mm-hmm.
rejection may be more intense than it would. But I feel like with guys, like but as far as being, too forward, I mean, I speak for myself and most men, some of my friends, like it's cool. Like at least you're being upfront with things, so we know where we stand. I feel like it takes a lot of the pressure off because you already know where you're standing, where the person stands at.
Mm-hmm.
I think also I think some people, women and men, right, are have a whole different level of pressure because you still have people, right? I think we was reading some article that said like there's been like a 30% rate or 30% of like marriages and whatever that year was said they met online, right? So you still have a significant group of people out here that are meeting online and then
Mm-hmm.
getting married, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that puts a lot of pressure on people because it's still probably one or two people that like people will know, you know what I mean? But it probably puts an immense pressure on somebody who can't meet somebody, right? Who can't go out
Mm-hmm.
and even if it's a needle in a haystack, they're like, well, it could happen,
Right.
right? And we all know about rewards, right? And it's like it could end up being like Las Vegas, you know what I mean? Where it's like it's a one in a million thing. It's the penny slot of somebody hitting the jackpot, getting married, meeting the person of their dreams, online.
Right.
Like sure you can meet a lot of people, and then especially you're saying from a female perspective, there's a lot of options. That might really reinforce like, yo, my person might be amongst these people when it's really just a lot of people. I mean, that's a possibility
Yeah.
because the amount of pressure that probably will create from both sides. If it's like, yo, my man just got married, and what is he gonna say? He's gonna be like, yo, go on Plenty of Fish, man.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
What
Look at
you
me.
what do you
Look at
think his
me, it
wife
worked for
gonna say
me.
to you every time you lonely and come to the barbecue? She gonna be like, "You not on Plenty of Fish yet?" So even if they mean well, you know what I mean. So
Right. Right.
I was
Right.
just
Right.
considering that question because that probably adds a lot of pressure, like because of course, like I know people who have gotten together, and met online.
Yeah.
So imagine the people that can't do it. It's like you fell in again in another place, like not, obviously we're saying it lightly, but for somebody who can't meet somebody somewhere else, that could be a big deal.
This,
Mm-hmm.
this this is good information. I'm not sure any that's going to reinforce my participation into the dating apps, but I'm happy to. This is good input, guys. I like it.
So let me ask you, Kyle, would you suggest it to somebody you were working with?
Yeah. I mean, if they don't have the fear that I have, then sure. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that they haven't been beneficial for people because, like you mentioned, people have been able to get married, start families. It's been successful, right, for a lot of people. So you see the results. So I would totally
Mhm.
recommend, like, if I had a friend that did well, or they were successful at one of the sites, I was like, yeah, give that a try. It works for them. I'm just saying for me, yeah, I'm I'm good on that. You know, But if you are successful, right, this brings us to our next article, right? So virtual reality. So over the past few years, there has been a boom in the new technologies and revolutionizing the field of mental health in terms of like understanding and treating mental disorders like phobias and eating disorders and trauma and things of that nature. So among these innovations have been virtual reality, which is a powerful tool that provides individuals with new learning experiences and increasing their psychological well-being. So for people that aren't familiar with virtual reality, immersive virtual reality, what it does is that it creates like an interactive computer generated worlds that expose its users to like sensory perceptions, and it mimics those that are experienced in the real world. So which brings forth the topic of sexual aversion, right? So we mentioned, you got the dating app, you're married or you're in a relationship, that's cool, right? You've made it. But however, it appears that sexual aversion, which is the experience of fear, disgust, or avoidance when exposed to sexual cues or context, it appears that there's data that suggests that sexual aversion is as common as depression and anxiety disorders. And that a recent study survey of close to 2,000 individuals said revealed that at least 6% of women and 3% of men have experienced sexual aversion in the last 6 months. So, this being the case, recent findings suggest that virtual reality could bring about such changes in real life situations, and particularly with individuals with poor sexual functioning or a history of sexual trauma. And so that the virtual reality can help with intimately related fears and anxiety. And it can lead to positive sexual health outcomes, such as increased pleasure and sexual well being. What are your thoughts about this, guys?
I'm with it.
Okay, look at the one. I mean, that's I'm with it.
I'm with it. Anything that's going in that bucket of treatment, help, mental health, improve quality of life. It's like let's see. It's especially when it's being used in other areas. Like I'm hoping that people understanding some of the modalities that are available to them would just increase the likelihood. Oh, let me go see what that's about, versus thinking, oh, this is what they're going to do. I know what's going to happen. This is something new.
I
Jay,
think
what you think, bro?
I can see it from two perspectives. Like when you look at the perpetrators, I think it could be beneficial at some point in treatment, right? In terms of getting people to be more aware of like their own triggers, right? Without it necessarily causing harm to another human being, right? So I think that's a serious way it could help. Obviously, when we could think of how it could help like victims of sexual trauma, when we talk about possible exposure treatment when they're dealing with their their therapist. But when we're talking about like relationships, right? And now we can kind of talk about it in a more lighthearted way. This might be able to save a lot of people's relationships, right? Because when we're talking about some people who might be, have have aversions to certain things or have things that are anxiety provoking, that could still be comfortable or consensual between them and their partner, but could cause very big problems, right? This could probably allow somebody to ease themselves into something, for lack of a better term, without causing them too much harm, right? You could turn the channel off when it gets to be too much for you. So I think that the possibilities could be good in terms of, I'm thinking about it in terms of like sex therapy and like couples therapy. And then of course, with some of the more, I don't want to say extreme cases, but when we start talking about perpetrators and sexual trauma and stuff like that. So yeah,
See, I also saw from the end that this is the beginning of the end for us guys, as we know it is for human clinicians, bro. Like this is a replacement. I don't know if you guys are realizing this. Like this is gonna put us out of work, right? In every industry, this is where this comes from, right? You got self checkout, which is taking care of the retail industry, and now we got the virtual reality, which is gonna take us out as clinicians. So yeah, I'm happy that you guys are on board with this. This is great. This is the this is, but no, I'm all jokes aside, I'm not overly surprised. about like how virtual reality therapy is like proved effective. Like, I mean, it's useful. And you talked a little bit about it, Jay, is that it offers the potential for individuals to carefully control their situations that they're exposed to, right?
Mhm.
So, and that can be difficult in the real world. So, I mean, and that's an important aspect of therapy. So, and then like just, I mean, the industry has it's gathered a lot of momentum, like incrementally, like over the years. Like the technology has improved with virtual reality. um it's more affordable, right? I
Mhm.
remember years and years ago, virtual reality, like the headsets were costing like 23, 24, $25,000. Now most headsets are like on average like $300 for a headset. So like you said, Ashley, a lot of clinicians are going to start to utilize this as as a therapeutic tool,
Mhm.
for helping with especially like this particular disorder, but any other type of phobias. And it offers convenience, right? If you can immerse a patient in scenes that would be hard or for them, maybe they're not comfortable doing, especially if we're talking about sexual aversion, if they're able to do this in session as opposed to in practice, as
Mhm.
opposed to maybe not being comfortable at home with the person that maybe is contributing to the anxiety or the situation, like, this is cool. My only concern is that I worry that as it becomes more available and as virtual reality expands, that people might start to seek that as treatment and try out the program for themselves and not consult a clinician or a therapist, right? Because what we're talking about with virtual reality is just it's prolonged exposure therapy, right? Was really what it is. And so if you have individuals that are just going to go out and get the headset and just try to do it for themselves without the guidance of a practitioner or a clinician, then I feel like that could possibly serve as an issue. But yeah, I mean, this could be useful, and another, like, like you said, something you could add to the tool belt.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm totally with it.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. We always, gonna be out here for the record. Child, you know, we making the recipes, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, man, I hope, man. I hope.
I don't know
Listen.
what he's talking about.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
We'll be optimistic, but
You got to
I
keep your
do
eye on
have
these
to,
on this technology, man. You got to keep your eye on it.
that's what I was gonna say. I
Mhm.
do have to jump off, but guys, I really enjoyed tonight. Like I gotta come back. Like
Always, always.
please don't ever forget about me. The holidays coming up, but it's always a pleasure to chime in with you guys. I always tell my friends about you all. Y'all were the class ahead of me, gave me something to look forward to at PCOM. So anytime I get to join you all on all conversations, um, I'm here. So
Well,
thank you
much
guys so
appreciated.
much.
Absolutely.
And y'all have
Ashley,
a great
you are
upcoming
welcome
week.
anytime. Anytime you have the availability. We know you have a lot of endeavors going on. We know you're running things over there at PCOM now, which we totally appreciate, and we're comfortable with
Mm.
PCOM being in the right hands. So, yeah,
Yeah.
anytime you
I was
know
great.
you.
I'm gonna have some, like, listen, it's the family.
Okay.
So definitely 2022, it'll just be more and bigger than it was this year. So we'll look forward to going into that. But you guys enjoy your evening, and to everybody viewing,
Absolutely.
check y'all
Appreciate
next time, my boy.
everybody.
All right,
Appreciate it. All right,
bye-bye.
Ashley.
All right, bro.
All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Episode 31. Y'all know what to do. Subscribe, listen, comment. Dr. J, appreciate you being here, bro.
No doubt, bro. I'll holler at you, man.
All right.